This March, after a weeks-long cross-country journey, several hundred truckers arrived at a muddy field in Hagerstown, Maryland, just over an hour outside Washington, D.C. They were there to protest the cross-border vaccine mandate, to demand the repeal of the Emergency Act that was used to impose pandemic restrictions, and to bring accountability to the architects of the lockdowns. They called themselves the U.S. Peoples Convoy.
We're protesting the fact that they did it in the first place. You know, we're all human beings and we're in a free country. And people don't get it. They're saying, well, they're already lifting the mandates and lifting that. What's to prevent them from making another mandate that's unjust and in the future? That's what I'm protesting. They did it in the first place. So they're appeasing the American public by saying, now you're okay, COVID's taken its course. None of it's made sense from the beginning. I'm here, for my freedom, for this 70-year-old lady I seen in Elk City, Oklahoma, that bawled her eyes out to me and said, go fight. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. And this lady proceeds to tell me she wasn't even given the option to wear a mask. And her mom died of congestive heart failure, not COVID. She watched her mom, 91-year-old mom, take her last breath from behind a pane of glass. She wasn't even given the option to put a mask on and hug or kiss her mom goodbye. That's why I'm here. This is wrong. Every bit of it's wrong.
When it comes to the truck driver, the whole vaccine to get us to get a vaccine this is probably the most I've ever been around people the entire time I've been a truck driver. And it's about the same for you, right? We don't go around people very often, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We give our paperwork, then we go sit in our truck, or we unstrap, untarp, and we don't. It doesn't make sense. I mean, that's my office, that's my home, and I'm by myself. Some people it's 5 days a week, some of us will be months, nobody else in that vehicle but us, and we only deal with the general public, drive by, and we only deal with other people, or shippers in that, maybe 5-10 minutes behind a plexiglass. So why are they mandating vaccines for everybody and forcing everybody to wear a mask when
I have an interesting fact for you. So I work for a small trucking company, or at least on a small trucking company. We have about 25 truck drivers. We all stayed on the road. We shared bathrooms with all the other truck drivers, shower rooms, all that stuff. Our office staff all went home because of COVID and did work from home. Guess who got COVID? None of the truck drivers. It was all the people that went home, right?
Almost as soon as the People's Convoy got on the road, U.S. media attempted to portray its participants as violent extremists and insurrectionists, invoking the trauma of January 6th and falsely accusing them of a plot to disrupt the Super Bowl in Los Angeles.
In a bulletin to law enforcement, the Department of Homeland Security says it received reports a convoy of truckers plans to potentially block roads in major metropolitan cities and severely disrupt transportation. The DHS Alert says the convoy could begin Sunday in Los Angeles, the site of the Super Bowl, gathering truckers as they travel across the country, possibly reaching Washington, D.C. on March 1st, the same day as the State of the Union.
Any layer of complexity you throw onto a major event like the Super Bowl, it creates potential problems. Potentially, they could keep certain roads open only to emergency vehicles.
They can narrate it all they want. They're not here to cover it. They should come across the country like I did all the way from Arizona to Washington, D.C. and cover the overpasses of hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. They should come and cover every night we're here, and you have people walking in and out of your truck, handing you goodie bags. Thousands of cards from children saying thank you. They should cover that and come and say it's violent.
And I came down from Minnesota, and I'd say 90% of the bridges all the way down here were lined with people. We went through Indiana at night from between 6 and 10 o'clock at night. They were shooting fireworks off the bridges. It was incredible. I've never cried so much in my life. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe these people that are out here supporting us. We all kind of thought we were just kind of alone thinking this way, and lo and behold, everybody's behind us.
For days, the truckers had been conducting what they called slow rolls on Washington, D.C.'s Capitol Beltway, hoping that by jamming up the gargantuan and notoriously congested freeway, they could force the government to negotiate. But convoy leadership required truckers to maintain speeds of at least 55 miles per hour while they were on the Beltway. According to the Washington Post, during one slow roll, it was difficult to distinguish which vehicles were part of the demonstration after the group merged with regular Beltway traffic. On DC's Capitol Hill, meanwhile, I saw signs of a heavy government response prepared in the event of any presence of the Peoples Convoy inside the city. Not only were National Guard vehicles waiting by freeway off-ramps, police from New York City had been brought in for a potential confrontation.
Why is NYPD in D.C.?
We were here for the State of the Union, and now we're here for the truckers. They're on their way here maybe Friday. Trucker convoy.
It's like a protest, right?
Like a protest, like supposed to be People's Convoy.
Are they a national security threat?
No, definitely not. More of a protest. The concern is that they come through here. They're gonna stop them before they get in here. But the concern is a couple of them slip through. The issue is not enough manpower in the Capitol Police, so we're providing additional. So you have additional law enforcement here. So
Interesting.
Determined to avoid an ugly clash with law enforcement, the truckers continued circling the Beltway, day in and day out, with little effect. On March 7th, People's Convoy leadership went to Congress with an urgent request for support.
So you've been out in Hagerstown. What brought you to D.C. today?
We had some meetings lined up with Senator Ron Johnson and Ted Cruz.
What were those about? How did those go?
They were about what we're doing here in the People's Convoy. They were receptive to us and agree with us, and look forward to working with them in the future to help push our message out there and hopefully convince the House here coming up and other senators that voted no on the state of emergency to flip to a yes and get it going through the House.
But back at the Hagerstown freeway, frustration was beginning to brew. The slow rolls were failing to generate the pressure the truckers needed to bring the government to the table. The media remained focused on the war in Ukraine, and freezing weather persisted. Inside a climate-controlled trailer, I spoke to Tyler Lee, a small businessman running for Congress in North Carolina, who had participated in the meeting with Cruz and Johnson.
I sat down with two congressmen yesterday. I was a little disappointed. They told me that they didn't understand what was really happening with the People's Convoy because the mainstream media was not broadcasting it, which tells you enough that says if you're relying on mainstream media to understand the heartbeat of America, you are out of touch. And I was very disappointed that these two Republican congressmen told me that. They need to be down here. They need to be shaking hands and with the people. This is the heartbeat of America right here. This is how you get a pulse of what's going on. And it's disappointing to see that they have not come down. So, we'll find out if they're all lip service or there will be action. But I can assure you the truckers are gonna keep on trucking until they do something there in D.C.
Outside, I met with Rat Rod, a veteran trucker and activist.
This is a 58 Mac?
1958 Mac. Used to be a semi-truck, man. Used to be a tractor trailer and it's sitting on a 97 Ford Explorer chassis. It's got a 5.0 in it, and we stripped all the electronics and fuel injection and all that off, put carbureted intake on it, and an ATI distributor, and just swapped it all over and built a little rat rod out of it there.
Rat Rod had situated himself within a convoy faction that called itself Camp Badass, and whose members were getting fed up with the endless slow rolls and the waiting around.
And I ain't done nothing but listen to that CB my whole life. These drivers talking about how we can do it and how we can do it. And you can go back and look, and you can look through my TikTok. There's plenty of evidence in there, but for almost 2 years now, I've been riding around for 28 years trying to figure out how to get these guys to do it. And the slow roll is the best way to do it. And it's effective, It makes them a little bit late here and there, but you really, in one day's time, if everybody running 45, 50 mile an hour at the minimum speed limit, it ain't going to affect it that much, man. It's going to slow them down an hour, maybe 2 hours delay on their loads, but it makes a statement. It lets them rattle their chains, We all paid slaves out here, man. I mean, that's the bottom line. We paid slaves. And if you ain't willing to lose everything you got and walk away from it to fight for your own freedom, then you ain't in it to win it. I don't believe these guys got it in them. That's why I did it the first time, was because they was threatening to strike, and they giving dates. I don't believe you should give no date, man. I believe if we're going to go on strike, let's just go out there and close the damn roads off and let's do it right,
Right now, this is being ignored, actually, by the media.
Oh, yeah, this is, yeah. That's because we ain't got it together, man. Well, it's just confining a lot, and then when we get out there on the road, these guys, we had to whoop them in shape, man. You know what I'm saying? I got some good videos of whooping them in shape. So.
But with the specter of January 6th still hanging over Washington, convoy leadership remained reluctant to send its forces into the city without official authorization.
Our mission is 150% peaceful, and that is the message we have carried all the way.
But yeah, go ahead.
Well, our organizers are working with local and state police and ensuring that this is done peacefully, legally, and that we make a stand, but we do it in the right manner. There's been other organizations that have shut down streets and burned down cities, and we're not about that. At the end of the day, we love our country, and we don't want to impede traffic or do anything that hurts people. We want to do this peacefully and legally.
I was just talking to some of the guys out there by the fire, and they want to go into D.C. I mean, what are you going to do about that? Not that you have to do anything against it or for it, but what happens? Are they able to do that?
Yeah, we'll pull permits to do it if they allow it. So certainly they'll do it legally.
Jeremy Lafredo is an independent journalist who had embedded with the Peoples Convoy since its launch. He told me he had just witnessed a sizable group of truckers confronting convoy leaders about their strategy.
What's going on over there is interesting. You have about 50 truckers sharing their grievances with organizers, and they're upset that they haven't heard what the next move is. They're upset that they haven't heard about the next meeting. A lot of them are ready to go into Washington. They're tired of circling the Beltway. And they don't think that the politicians will listen to them if they just drive around the Beltway a bunch of times, because they do think that the government has been quite evil. I don't know the word to use, but they blame the government for all the deaths that they've caused with lockdowns and whatnot, and they don't think that they will kneel to people who are just driving around the Beltway. And there's a big divide between the truckers and the organizers. While the organizers kind of might have bit off more than they can chew, there's about 350 big rigs here. The truckers are willing to do something, and the organizers don't want to be held accountable for whatever the truckers are going to do.
Moments later, convoy leader Brian Braze gathered the truckers before a makeshift stage and made his case for patience and continued trust in his strategy.
Before, but I'll say it again. Going down into the heart of D.C. like this right now is not a very smart choice. Correct. And I'm going to tell you that because we got children in this convoy. We got people that understand that this is more important than to go down there and cause mayhem, because it'll just collapse. Ottawa collapsed. We don't want to collapse. Right. Now you're right, it is, but if you don't think that won't happen here in the United States, sir, you don't think that'll happen here? Yeah, you're right, we got rights, but you know what? It doesn't take long for them to figure out a way to shut us down. That's the truth. That's right. That's the truth. The bottom line here is that we have a process to doing this. It ain't kowtowing to the politicians. I think you all know by now I don't like any of them. None of them. But I'll tell you that there are some good ones that want to work with us.
Beyond a visit the following day by Senator Ted Cruz to the Speedway, it was unclear what kind of results Braze's process were producing. And the permits for protesting peacefully in D.C. had yet to be authorized. So on March 14th, convoy leadership organized an attempt to enter D.C. with a small detachment of trucks. I waited on the National Mall that afternoon with a small group of journalists, the only ones with knowledge of the truckers' move, apparently.
So this is all the media waiting for the truckers.
And we waited.
So currently the entire convoy is on 395 coming into DC, and we have reports from the lead trucker saying that the police have shut off each exit coming in because they're afraid of the congestion that the convoy would cause.
The truckers never made it in. They found that every exit into DC was blocked by Metro Police and agents from the Department of Homeland Security.
True that these trucks that are stopped on the highway is the first true disruption caused by the convoy, but it's important to note that there's disruption and there's traffic because authorities have blocked off exits, so the disruption is being caused by the authorities themselves, not the truckers. The plan was to park on the mall. There's not much traffic around, so it seems that the disruption that the truckers have caused pales in comparison to shutting down the exits on the highway, which the authorities have done.
And during every subsequent attempt to enter DC, the truckers were blocked by local and federal law enforcement. When reporter Jeremy Lafredo asked DC police about the legality of the roadblocks, he was ordered back in the truck.
Highway, you can be arrested for blocking the highway. Right now you're blocking this truck from moving.
You're
you want to
blocking
be
the highway.
arrested?
Washington had become a forbidden city. And so on March 28th, the Peoples Convoy announced that it was leaving its base in Hagerstown, Maryland, and heading west for Sacramento, California, where a series of sweeping mandate proposals had been introduced in the state assembly, including one that would have mandated the COVID vaccine for all employees and independent contractors working in the state. For now, at least, Washington was in the convoy's rearview mirror.